All right, everybody, want to welcome you to our show today. We're very excited to have our next guest. His name is Todd Blyleven, um, former minor league baseball star, I guess we could say, survivor of the Vegas incident, and the CMO of the USA women's softball. So, really excited to kind of dive in, get to learn a little bit about your story, and really hoping today that people kind of take away a lot of stuff, right? Because just kind of reading through some of your stuff and talking about you for a little bit, we can definitely see you're one of those individuals that really kind of inspire people. And sometimes I think we all need that in life, just that one person that, right? It's like that guiding light that can really
Yeah.
kind of set us in the right direction. So,
Yeah.
Todd, why don't you kick it off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what got you here.
Well, I appreciate you both having me on. So it's a pleasure to meet both of you. So I grew up in a household, with my dad, Burt Blyleven, playing professional baseball for 23 years. He got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011, which was really amazing to see your dad achieve his ultimate success and goals
Yeah.
in life. And that came with a lot of sacrifice and hard work. And then, just to kind of broad stroke it, I fell in love with baseball. Growing up, I had two grandfathers. One was a Marine Corps veteran. The other one was a naval bomb specialist that spent their lifetime in the military on my mom's side. And so I grew up, either digging trenches wherever we were at and wearing fatigues and running around playing army, or I was throwing a baseball. And God's path had me going into professional baseball, and I had an amazing opportunity to play for a little over 6 years. Became a Major League Baseball scout after that for 8 years, learning baseball operations and really more the background, the business of baseball, the analytics, the metrics, how all of that applies to development and how we select the players we see today on TV. And I just embraced every moment I had, always trying to figure out my own version of success.
Yeah.
Nonstop watching my dad go through that every day, and that no stopping mentality that he had. I mean, I remember chasing him on a bike, as I would go on his long, long runs. He loved running long distance to keep his body in shape and his legs strong. And I remember asking my dad, "Can we stop?" And he'd point at these signs that said, "No stopping here." And he said, "We can't stop because there's players that are always chasing me. There's always somebody that wants my job." And to see your dad go through that every day, to see him be happy in those successful moments, and then the quiet, dark storm when maybe there's a loss, and then to watch all those professional athletes that I was able to be around. My dad was present as a traveling major league player. He kept me around until my high school years. I got to be a bat boy in the 1979 World Series, the 87 Twins World Series when they won. So it was truly remarkable. It was a different life. I absolutely loved it. And then the after baseball life, you get into what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to replicate the high fives in the
Yeah.
boardroom? And how do I do that? So that was kind of the way I grew up before I get into the corporate world of sports, leading into where I am today. Yeah.
That's incredible. And just because we have insight of like reading about you, that intro just kind of confirms like all of the things I know about like don't stop, keep going, push forward. And I feel like that is a skill that is something that is both a mix of what you're taught, like your environment, but then also just like a fire that you're born with that you
Mhm.
have, right? To keep pushing forward and keep challenging the status quo.
Yeah, and I love the
Yeah.
comment you made about your past history because I'm like you, right? So you typically learn from your grandparents and your parents on work ethic and whatnot, and I really think that when they instill that drive in you, it's something that lives with you even when they're gone. So it's just you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing to kind of get that goal. I love that you said that. So
Yeah, 100%. I think, we need to draw back on that. We need to like understand how hard it was for them and our generations behind them
Yeah.
to where they got, how we got to this point in our lives, and take all the good stuff, but then also really respect the bad, and that grind that they went through. I know growing up, I mean, I fell in love with the military. I fell in love with first
Yeah.
responders in terms of their service and what they were able to do to help people. And that's how I lived my life,
Yeah.
all the way through and through, you know, the constant grind. And at times, that constant push, that constant keeping your boots moving forward, was part of my whole depression that I fell into, because here I was, a high achiever, wanting success. I had these models, these role models that were all super, super successful in their lives. And then all of a sudden, my world stops.
Mhm.
And I have to make a decision, especially when I was scouting. I want to be home for my kids. And scouting was not going to do that. It wasn't going to provide me the income that I needed to be able to even be a working, traveling dad, but
Yeah.
come home every once in a while. I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be able to be the coach. I wanted to go to the dance recitals. You know, I wanted to be the dad that maybe got up on stage, which I ended up being able to do, and be in the Nutcracker
Oh
twice.
my God, that's
No, I did not
incredible.
wear tights, but um, but you know, you have people that open up their doors to you, corporate, whomever. You never know when that handshake occurs,
Mhm.
what that relationship could end up opening up for you as a person. And you know, I was raised to treat people with kindness, how I would want to be treated, with respect.
Yeah.
And I had a gentleman, Tony Armand, that was a big CEO of Shock Doctor Sports at the time. I was giving lessons to his kid, and pitching lessons. And he says, "What do you want to do with the rest of your life?" And I'm like, "Tony, I think, you know, I'm running this facility, and maybe I just want to expand on this." And he's like, "There's not really a lot of money in that." I'm like, "I just want to be home. You know, I
Mhm.
just want I want a stable job.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do." And he opened up this door for me to get into the corporate world of sports, you know, with sports products and business development and marketing. And it was like one person after another just kept opening up their doors to teach me what they learned through their path. And I was just an open book. I went into it with a positive frame of mind, work hard,
Mhm.
uh, be respectful. And I got to where I am today because of all those people, from my grandfathers, my dads,
Yeah.
my dad's teammates, the coaches, the baseball operations, like everybody, to finally, you know, you're still battling that. What is the success? If I give a big presentation and I achieve success, like, there's the quiet, like, "Hey, good job."
Yeah.
But there's not the Gatorade being poured on you, and there's not the slaps on the butts and the high
Yeah.
fives, you know, there's
Definitely
no
not
like,
the
"Yeah,
slaps
let's."
on the butts. Like that would just get shut down in corporate. It's just like,
That
yeah,
would not be
maybe
good today.
the Gatorade, but like you'd be on the news of.
Yeah, exactly. So,
How come you never?
but
So you were fascinated with like military. You had your grandparents were in the military. I'm curious, like how come was that ever an option for you to kind of go down that path?
it was, yeah, I wanted to be a Marine. You know, I was either going to be a Marine, and then take that knowledge into law enforcement. That's what I wanted to do, or I was going to play baseball. And
Mhm.
you know, baseball provided the opportunity. But when I was a junior in college, I that was my teeter totter moment,
Yeah.
and so I had given myself an ultimatum: either I was going to boot camp, or I was going to have a professional uniform on come June. And the Angels gave me an opportunity, and so away I went. You
That's
know, and you have
incredible.
to go after that. So,
Our
yeah.
father was in the Marines, so
Yes,
Oh, wow.
100%.
yeah,
Well, thank you
So
for his service.
yeah,
Really.
same to you, you know, and your
yeah,
father. You know, it's interesting when you have an individual that has gone through that, right? They have the discipline that they were taught, and that is one thing. So you did bring up, you know, um, about when you were younger, you kind of take a lot. And it's funny because one thing I always think about was my father when I was younger. I didn't think he knew anything, but as you get older, you realize that you don't know anything, and he was actually the one that really kind of taught you the ways. And you know, when you have an individual that's in your life like that, it really teaches you discipline and work ethic and whatnot.
hmm
Um, so, like you, at one point in time, I was actually debating whether or not to go into the military. And my father was actually the one that said, "You know what? Go get your college degree first. And if you still feel the same way, then go that route." And of course, just things happen differently, and I never went into it. But having somebody that went through that and teaching me that discipline that he learned, it allowed
yeah.
me to move ahead and kind of get that idea. The other point that I
Yep.
just want to bring up real quick that you brought up was that whole work-life balance, because I think that's something that everybody struggles with. I know I know Alicia has, because you see your kids when they're little, and I have a 15-year-old now, and I look at them, it's like,
Mm.
where the hell did the time just go?
Yeah.
So how do you manage that where had this career where you're traveling all over the place and still allow time for family?
Well, first of all, I wanted to be around my family, which I think is important. I
Hmm.
had this craving to be involved. I wanted to be the present dad. I wanted to be the present husband as much as I possibly could. But work is work too, and we all go through that. You have responsibilities in life. You got to pay bills. Unfortunately, I wish one day we just they'd say nobody has to pay anything anymore. We're just gonna
Yeah, be
farmers are
happy.
gonna give food to us, and our workers are gonna give us our cars, and we'd all be great. But uh, it was really challenging for me in the beginning because I'm trying to learn how to put a PowerPoint presentation on, which I'd never done before,
Hmm.
and spend all that time away from my family. And so at some point in my career, I was thinking, holy cow, okay, I got to where I want to be, but now I'm losing and I'm sacrificing on being the coach, I'm being the dance recital partner to my daughter, whatever that is. And so it came with a lot of organization. It came with a lot of self discipline every morning, waking up, understanding what my goals were for the day, so I could be successful at the end of the day and not trying to reach out and go for the 10 yards and just go for the 1 yard.
Hmm.
Understanding that if I move forward just an inch or just a little bit in my career today, or I get that partnership, paper created, and I have tomorrow to work things out. And we all know in the business world, nothing really moves super fast,
Right.
especially when you're talking about big business. So it took me a long time to learn that, but I relied on mentors. I had a incredible resource of people that I surrounded myself with that had relatable experiences. And I think understanding how to kind of build that relationship of, hey, I got my work friends, I got my work people that I can go to that may not even be part of my industry,
Right.
but people that I can talk to as a mentor. And then I got my family relationship people. I think that helped me later when I went through what I went through in Las Vegas, where now all of a sudden you're completely knocked down and it's all about you and your suffering and your depression and your PTSD and all these things. And I think that helped me start to build that relationship of now
Hmm.
what I call my pals that helped me through extremely, and still today help me through an extremely challenging time. So to answer your question, I think it's a lot of like self-discipline, understanding you can't conquer the world,
Hmm.
slow yourself down, right? And we all learn that through walking through the fire.
Yeah.
You got to walk through it to understand how hot it is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Totally.
be in the fire, right?
Yeah. It's totally setting the boundaries. We talk about this all the time of just, you know, we could do we want to have the massive company, the Devil Wears Prada lifestyle where it's very sexy and it looks amazing, but then we sacrifice not getting our kids on and off the bus or getting them to and from
Yeah.
school, like all of that. And so redefining success has been huge in I think the entrepreneurial journey too, because as somebody like yourself with that like fire to do better, do bigger, we almost have to kind of slow ourselves. No one's going to slow us down. We have to kind of learn to slow ourselves down. um I don't think there is a balance. I think there's like some days I'm going to be a rock star mom, and other days, like I'm going to be up till midnight to get stuff done because I had to go, volunteer in the school. So there's not really a balance. I think uh, it's just a life.
Yeah, one of the things
Yeah,
no, please go.
I think it's too like you're hitting on something, Alicia. It's really important. I think it's finding that balance, but understanding where your cap is.
Yes.
It's kind of like being an athlete. If I'm striving as a pitcher in professional baseball to throw 98 miles an hour, and maybe I'm sitting 94, 95,
Hmm.
and I'm throwing 94, 95, and I'm throwing strikes, and I've got good breaking ball, and I've got good control and good command, and I'm being successful, and I'm getting outs. Why is it that I'm continuing to try to just reach for that 97, 98. And all of a sudden, maybe I get there once in a while.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm in that really fast, uncomfortable place. I have no control. I have no command. I'm not successful because I can't repeat that consistency in my life. I wasn't built to throw 98 miles an hour. And if you apply that to like our work life and everything you just talked about, we strive so hard to just be better every single day. And like nothing's
Yeah.
good enough, especially in the business world. So if you can think about what is my happy place?
Mhm.
Where am I supposed to be? Yeah, I'm gonna have good days, bad days. I want to try to push a little bit, but if I get above this cap,
Right.
I'm running too fast. I've got too much going on. And I've learned that that slapped me across the face going through what I went through and having now PTSD
Mhm.
where I can't. I'm forced. I cannot get above this threshold because I'll lose my train of thought. I get my speech starts getting stuttered. I have this elephant that sits on my chest. It's called anxiety,
Yeah.
right? It's called fear. It's everything that we go through when we have traumatic moments, and everybody experiences that. And sometimes it's self-induced. I love what you just said because you have to be able to, if you want to be a mom, if you want to be a dad, if you want to be that present person, then find that cap where you're still pushing yourself professionally, but in a comfortable, consistent range to where you
Mhm.
can still be happy. And
Yeah.
just do those projects at 12 o'clock at night when your kid says, "Hey, I got a project due
Yeah.
tomorrow." And you're like, "Great. What did I get on it?" You know, I'm
Yeah.
like an A student with projects.
Yeah. I mean, you actually had to like slow me down sometimes because I know, and again, like from experience and learning from it, I know when I'm about to get burned out, I actually burn hotter. So I will start, this happened like in March. I was like, I think that we should lead a whole environmental cleanup. I'm going to like petition to the town. We're going to get a river clean. Like we're going to go balls deep, like into this cleanup. Oh, and we have all these clients and we're going to launch a podcast. And I was just like rambling off. And he was like, just like stop for like a second and let's take a back seat and like could we help the environment and maybe not totally trudging like the whole river and like fixing a whole ecosystem, like could we do this? Or so I think realizing that, and then again surrounding yourself with circles of, you know, when I'm feeling really down in business, I know exactly what business owners to call to pull me out of that rut and like fuel my creativity. When I'm really stressed on the personal side, I have my personal network. And then I have my mom tribe of just like, I don't want to talk about work. I want to talk about things that are just like fun. And if I need you to help me pick up the kids, that's what I need. Like there has to be these circles in your life that help you at those different moments. It's hard running
Yeah,
solo.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I, I
Yeah.
I think it's really important too to be okay with where you're at. You know, like growing up, I was, let's go. Like, work hard, drive. And then in my mid 30s, I had a major medical issue, which really kind of put life into perspective, in the sense of it gave me a gut check of like, am I really going to kill myself working hard and not enjoying all these little things? And it was actually when I was in for treatment, a gentleman, he basically said, you have to be like water, right? He goes, in life, there's going to be rocks that are going to be put in front of you. And you literally have to be like water and work around them and kind of go from there. And he goes, while you're working around them, you have to enjoy the little things. He goes, it could be something as simple as watching a bird sit on the, on a tree, just kind of enjoying life, whatever. He goes, but if you're constantly focused on getting ahead and working, you're going to miss the rest of your life. And that one conversation with that gentleman, like literally changed my whole perspective in life. It's like, man, like I'm killing myself day and night, not spending time with my family. Like, and what is going to get me? More money? That's great. Can't take it with me, but
Yeah.
all those little
Yeah.
things are the memories. Like that's the most important part, I think, in life.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, Todd, can you talk about your experience and your trauma? And I was sharing with my family, with my kids about like who you were. And our whole thing is, I always say, there's really, really bad things and people in the world, but there are way more helpers than bad people. You just don't hear about the helpers as much. This is a helper I get to talk to tomorrow. So I want to like dig into your story.
Yeah. You're so right. There's not enough emphasis on the people that go back in and try to help somebody in need. So thank you for bringing that up. Um, yeah, I try to keep this super PG rated for anyone that might be listening. But in 2017 in October, my wife and I and about 18 others were at a country concert called Route 91. It was in Las Vegas, and it was a concert that we had been to multiple years. So we knew the venue. We knew the safety of it, the law enforcement, first responders, the organizers of the concert. Everybody did everything right. Everybody did everything great. And at the end of the show, every of those 3 nights, we would always be on the right side of the stage. We would always be pretty close. The girls would always get all the way up to the rail, and the guys would hang back and drink our beers and hang out. And it was a country fest. And I'm a big country guy. I love country music. Grew up that way. That's my dad's fault, which I don't blame him, and probably my grandfather's as well. But on this particular night, we went into this night to just really unleash it. I was going through a lot. I was going through that whole defining of success moment. We had just moved from Southern California to North Texas. My kids were going through things, just that transition of move. My wife and I were going through relationship struggles and trying to like mend things. And so there was a ton going into that night that we had just had 2 really good days from a relationship standpoint. There was love in the air. My younger, like I call them my nieces and nephews, because we had spent their 21st birthdays in Vegas together. They called my wife and I the aunt and uncle. These were all kids that we've known for years since they were little. I gave a couple of them pitching lessons. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there dancing, just totally carefree, and a madman from the 32nd floor across the street to your right side at Mandalay Bay decides that it'd be a good idea to shoot down on 22,000 people with automatic weapons. And so when you're caught in that moment, and you're vigilant, I'm looking around, I'm seeing the officers are still there before the machine gun fire started. At first he had a sniper rifle. He was trying to shoot there was an airport to our left where Vegas airport is, and he was trying to shoot these big fuel tanks to have an explosion so everyone would run towards him. It didn't work out for him, thank God. But when you start hearing that machine gun fire and you've got your family basically right in front of you, what do you do? And how do you react? And we can all go through that, like, oh, I would react this way, and you don't know. And so thankfully, where we were positioned, we missed the first serious concentration of that first round, probably by 10 feet. And just 10 feet in front of us, there were people that were falling. And so, you tell your family to get down. You realize now, after the first round had gone through and the lights went out and Jason Aldean runs off the stage, and that you are now a sitting duck and there is no coverage above you. And so my main priority at that point was get my wife out. That's all I wanted to do, was get her back to her kids and our kids. And so you lift everybody up and you try to be a shield and run away from the danger and run as big as you can. And almost like you're imagining this, this magnet that if bullets do come your way, it's going to hit you. You want it to hit you because you don't want it to hit your loved ones or anyone around you. And that was the mentality running out. And by the time we got out, which was very, very quick, like seconds of sitting down behind a building, getting up and going to another location, which was all about 40 yards from our original spot, still in the line of fire throughout the whole run. We got out. I wanted to now get my wife and family further north, away from the gunfire. And we're on a street called Giles Street. And a man came running out with a woman, and he needed help. And I went to help him lay her down. And unfortunately, at that moment, you know, I had a choice to make. She was not responsive. And I, for some reason, thought, this is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to be. This is who I'm supposed to be at this moment. So I had 2 legs and 2 arms, and I sent my wife and family on to keep running away from everything. And I don't know if it was this mentality of, if I'm here, more people will be here and we'll stop this madness. You didn't know if you're under attack.
Mhm.
You didn't know how many shooters there were. We were going through some crazy stuff politically at that time as well. So you didn't know, like, you didn't know what was going on. You just knew you were in a war zone, and people needed help. So I made the choice to run back in, and I'm really happy that I did. It took me a long time to get to that point to understand why I sacrificed myself potentially
Mhm.
with bullets being shot around me so many times, why I kept going back in. I'd go in, I'd grab someone that was injured, I'd throw them into my arms, or I'd throw them up over my shoulder, and I'd run them out to that location that we got out to on Giles Street, because there were people coming out from hiding now. It was a country concert, so a lot of first responders, a lot of retired, a lot of doctors, nurses, things like that. Not saying that they don't go to other concerts, but country's just a little different. And that was kind of my mission. And at times, to kind of fast forward through that journey, there were moments I lost, a couple in my arms. And how do you process that in the moment, and then you're standing there, and everything kind of goes silent around you, and you're trying to think about, what the heck just happened? Where am I? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And then you see this inspiration run through these guys carrying someone out. Or I got this nurse, a blonde nurse. She was a trauma nurse. Stopped me on my second run in, and she's like, "I'm a trained trauma nurse. What can I do to help?" And I'm like, "Ma'am, you can put your hands on those people." That woman built 3 triage centers on that street. Probably saved hundreds of lives. And it was moments like that people, their own bravery, their own acts of selflessness, just kept you moving too.
Yeah.
So, someone will toss you water, you're pouring it over yourself, you're saying, all right, let's go. And then it's the ultimate sacrifice. You're running into a barrage of bullets, and you're hearing someone crying out for help, or you see 2 women pulling their friend out, and you just do what you can at that time. And so at the end of the night, it was about 8 hours this went on. Vegas thought you were under attack. You had 22,000 people scattered going into all these hotels that had been unfortunately injured. So the people playing slot machines and the workers all thought, oh my gosh, there's a shooting at this hotel. So first responders were scattered everywhere. The whole I had, buddies in that was in Secret Service calling me saying, hey, Vegas might be under attack. I'm right here. And so he was constantly in communication with me. He had misinformation. I'm giving him information on the grounds, the injury reports. FBI Terrorist Task Force was calling me because I had a buddy there, LAPD Metro. So I had all these people that it's weird, because the only ones that were able to get through to my phone were first responders, and they were my buddies. One of them was my best man. But at the end of the night, we found ourselves barreling through doors at the back entrance of Tropicana because an officer said there was a shooter in the building, and we had to get 150 plus people to a safe location. So we're in the back entrance of this thing, and there's 2 corridors, and we wanted to make sure that there wasn't an active shooter hiding somewhere, because again, now we're in a hallway,
Yeah.
and everyone's laying down and being quiet. And me and 4 other gentlemen, a Marine, captain, firefighter out of San Francisco, an off-duty EMT, and another man, I didn't know who he was, but here I am, I'm barreling through these refrigerator doors, these big laundry room doors, and we're finding pods of people that had scattered, found any type of hiding spot to just be able to kind of save their own lives. And we're looking for an active shooter. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Now you're like getting, things are kind of starting to get a little bit more like, all right, now I'm in protective mode.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten as many of the injured out. And at the end of the night, I end up finding myself tackling a man with a knife, or disarming him because he was wielding it down the hallway. I remember as I was running up on him, I wish that I had a baseball, Chris. You talked about baseball.
Yeah.
I wish, like, I'm running down the hallway and I'm like, you good guy, bad guy. And I was like, God, I wish I had a ball. I'd just throw it at him. But you don't have anything. You got your hands, and what am I going to do? I'm not trained to disarm someone, but I'm a big guy, so I was able to get it done. And 2 SWAT officers came up to me about an hour later, as we were patrolling, or doing our own kind of citizen patrol, keeping everybody safe. And I was covered in stuff on my left side from all the injured people, and said, "Sir, you can stand down." And at that moment, that whole reset in life that you mentioned, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
earlier, it hit me so hard. You go down, you're feeling the carpet on that floor. You're just so knocked down, and all I want to do is get back to my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I needed that embrace. I needed that softness. I needed
The
that was my like
the
security,
adrenaline,
right?
wore off.
Yeah. And so the aftermath of that, I'm now back in Dallas, less than 24 hours later, sitting in my truck. My story had already gone pretty much global.
Mm-hmm.
And Washington Post put stuff out and everything else. And there I am sitting in my truck now, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm like, okay, we got to go pick up the kids. What am I supposed to do? I got to go to work. I just started this job, and all these things are like running through my mind. And I get a phone call from a buddy of my dad's, and he says, "My name is Lee. I'm a 3-year or 3-time combat vet. I know what you're going through emotionally. This is going to be your next 72 hours. This is what you're going to experience body wise, the stuttering of the speech, the headaches, the nightmares. I'm here for you." And he instantly became this rock, right?
Yeah.
And then it wasn't just Lee, it was Woody, and it was Chad, and it was Mark, and there was all these guys that I had drank beers with, hung out with, my best man, telling me stories of their relatable experience in terms of death and some of the horrible things that they went through, which created instant trust for me.
Yeah.
And this instant pal network that I knew, okay, I wasn't alone. But growing up, I had that no blood, no foul mentality. Get up, dust yourself off, like you all probably had as well. Fall out of a tree. Doesn't matter if you're hurt. Get back up there and climb it again.
Yep.
And I tried climbing that tree. I tried climbing, out of this mess. I thought I would just be able to get through things, get over it. And trauma is not built that way. It keeps knocking you in the back of the head. And so, I went through the nightmares, the visions, and I couldn't stop seeing everything. I carried over 30 people out that night. I got a couple of hundred out from a shooting, one of the last or final kill zones, and thank God people were able to run. I felt like a third base coach on a baseball field, getting people around the corner, and I'm getting shot at, and you can hear the tinkering of the bullets. So I know I'm in that line of sight from this machine gun, and all of a sudden now here I am. I'm waking up at 4:00 in the morning, and I'm splashing water on my face, and I'm looking myself in the mirror, not even recognizing who I am anymore, and scared, petrified, the fear. And so I finally was able to find a really good therapist. It took me a couple tries to where I could get past my 8 seconds, and we went through EMDR therapy, which was absolutely amazing. It was a combination of go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say number one, thank you.
That was amazing
for sharing your story and leaning into that. I need to help. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna do something. That's incredible. The therapy, what does that stand for? How is that different than kind of just your traditional therapy?
Yeah, so EMDR, eye movement displacement. I don't know what the R stands for. I always forget it's an acronym, but
Yeah.
uh, basically EMDR. There's three forms of this. Basically, what it does is it through either audio, visual,
Mhm.
or a vibration, which I use. They're like two little river rock paddles that have wires connected, and it goes into a little controller box that the therapist will control the intensity of this vibration that goes back and forth, similar to like a heartbeat, right?
Mhm.
And what it does is it allows your right side of your brain to connect to your left, and they kind of go back and forth. Well, in a traumatic situation, no matter what you're in, you don't have to be in a shooting like I was in. It could be a car accident, it could be a fight you had, it could be your boss not being a good boss and
Mhm.
yelling at you. It could be anything, right? But that traumatic experience that you have gets stored in the backside of your brain. And that's what causes sometimes those headaches. If you have an isolated headache, or you've got this stuttering of speech, or you're losing your train of thought, or you get really irritable and you can feel that anxiety coming back on you, that was all happening to me. And the other part, when you go through something very serious, is
Mhm.
your brain will go into self protect mode, and it'll allow you to process the things that it feels you can process. But it's going to put everything else in the back corner in this dark little cavern somewhere. And
Yeah.
it's going to say, nope, I'm putting the drawbridge up. And what EMDR does as you're talking, like for me, my therapist, once we went past the talkative therapy, the first session, we started with EMDR, and she says, now, what I want you to do is I want you to be as descriptive as you possibly can, like you're painting a picture,
Mhm.
you're editing a video. I want you to tell me everything. What was the weather like? What did you feel like?
Yeah.
What was the ground like? And so we went through minute by minute, because in that crazy traumatic experience, my mind was remembering the middle. The middle was towards the beginning was towards the end. There were certain flashes. I remember yelling at this old man. I don't know why. Why was I yelling at this old man? That still sticks out to me all the time. I didn't understand all that because my mind wasn't allowing me to put everything into order. And I was
Yeah.
remembering like the sadness and these visuals and me doing these things. But then like all of a sudden through this experience, somebody sending me a video that I was on, getting a woman to a nurse to help another woman, and all of a sudden you see me run off, and now the gunfire starts again, and I'm in that, and you're going, I don't even remember doing that. Where was I? So what EMDR does is it basically, through those vibrations as you're telling your story,
Mhm.
it lowers that drawbridge a little bit. It allows information to come out, and then the therapist will have you describe all these little pieces, so you're remembering things.
Yeah.
And when you remember those, I was not a crier. I was bawling.
Yeah.
I was exhausted. I'm remembering all these things, and she would close it up, and then we would talk about it. And I'm a big faith based believer, and she was, she was compatible to what I believed, and what I believe now. And so we would have these beautiful conversations about what happened, and she would lift my spirit up. She would lift me up as a man, and as a just an individual, knowing that what I did was right.
Yeah.
And um, and so it rebuilt my strength. And so through that EMDR and talkative therapy with a relatable therapist that I could talk to and get past that 8 seconds of craziness, it was an incredibly magical just combination. And so I went through EMDR for about a year and a half, Alicia, and it was a total confidence builder, and it gave me the tools from a therapeutic side to
Mhm.
tackle my everyday memory of my 13 seconds that I
Yeah.
always have, unfortunately. Um, but I'm able to put myself in a good place. And then my peer support with my pals and my faith has been my three pillars. And what I've learned through the trauma and learning things, and I wrote a book on this, I think about this as like a trauma sphere
Mm-hmm.
that we all go through. And maybe Chris, you went through this when you were going through your experience. But when we think about if we put all of our bad experiences in our life into a sphere out in front of us, think of it like whatever you want, a silver ball, a fiery ball, something, whatever,
Yeah.
magnet, whatever, but it's hovering out in front of us. And if that trauma sphere is filled with all those bad things and it's pushed out beyond our arm's reach, we're going to feel pretty okay because it's not on us, right?
Yeah.
But then we put ourselves into a situation or we put too much on our plate, like you were talking about, Alicia, with going above that threshold and trying to achieve
Mm-hmm.
ultimate success, and we're running fast. All of a sudden, that trauma sphere starts backing up on us. And when that happens, we start to experience that anxiety, the headaches, the stuttering of speech, whatever that is that affects you, the irritability. And you're like, why am I doing this? Well, that's that sphere. That's all that trauma kind of pushing up. So, what resources do you have that can throw a hand over the top of you and start helping you push that sphere out? What are
Yeah.
you doing to combat all that, right? And what I've learned through that journey, and I talk to a lot of first responders, I get out and I speak to first responders, combat vets, people with trauma, business executives, just on the relatability of having anxiety in a workplace and how do you get
Mm-hmm.
through those, or how do you see those birds the way that birds are meant to be seen and
Yeah.
the beautiful skies. We have to control that. You have to control your trauma and learn how to walk with it because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go away,
Right.
and that's been probably the biggest lesson through the EMDR therapy. I really preach that onto first responders from all over the country, even internationally, in Australia and over in the UK. I mean, I've had people reach out all over, but um, it's been a resetting of my life. It's gotten me back to a point where when I was younger and I had all these big visions and dreams and we didn't have all this stuff on us,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that now. I'm in a very happy place. I'm controlling what what the chaos around me. Um, and I can get myself back to that. But it took a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I
it
love
wasn't
that.
easy.
That's beautiful. The strength. So you're sharing so many different forms of strength. And, I think just even the ability to say, like, I can't do this on my own. I need to find, I need to find people, my support network. I need to find someone who can help me, like, confront those feelings. That's just an untalked about strength at all. So thank you for sharing that. And now, like, before I even transition to like what you're doing today, I am really curious because I did not experience what you went through. And when I hate going to concerts, I hate going to big public places because it's always in
Mhm.
my mind, and I didn't have that experience. So how has that kind of shaped your even desire to go to festivals or more country concerts?
Yeah, it's, talk about that threshold. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
there yet.
Yeah.
I have not been to a professional baseball game in over 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
That crushes me. I'm learning that I know there's going to be a time when I'm going to go sit back in those seats.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a time when I go to a concert again. I've been to a couple. We tried to force, like, everybody tries to force yourself to get through it. And I was on, my head was on a swivel. I went through security and they didn't ask me to take my hat off. And I was like, are you not going to check my head? And the security guy's like, why? You're fine. And I'm like, no, I got a bazooka in my hat. You don't know
Yeah.
what I have in my
Yeah.
hat.
Yeah.
And the manager's like, what's going on, sir? And I'm like, I was just in a mass shooting. And there's not asking me to take my hat off. And he's like, oh, okay, hold on. I'm really sorry. Like, he showed empathy, but
Mhm.
I don't know that I think you have to be comfortable, and you have to understand that, like, with me, for example, I'm not comfortable yet with going to a big concert.
Yeah.
And yes, does it bother me? Yes, it does.
Mhm.
But I know I'm going to get there eventually. I
Yeah.
know that if I do go, I'm going to put myself into a safe place. Maybe I don't want to be up front. Maybe I
Mhm.
want to get tickets off to the side. You know what? I'm still going to be there and I'm still going to enjoy it.
Mhm.
We met Jason Aldean. We went to his concert. I was standing off to the side. my wife and them, they're a lot more advanced, further. Thank God they didn't have to see everything that I saw. So they were in the pit sort of thing, and I'm off to the side standing next to a security officer, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I went through something, and I just feel more safe right here, if that's okay." And the guy's like, "Yeah, of course." It's like, yeah, you can hang out right here. I still enjoyed the moment, right? I wasn't in that with everyone,
Yeah.
but they also too respected the reason why I needed to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the other too. I think the biggest lesson is we need to communicate. It's okay to say, if I'm even like in a neighborhood place, so we got some great places in North Texas, put on like tribute bands and stuff, and I'll stand in the back. And one dad came over. He was on my son's baseball, dad of my son's teammate, and he said, "You okay? Like, do you want to come join us?" And I said, "No, Art, I'm good, brother. Like, I'm just hanging out back here." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "Do you mind if I join you?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he goes, "I actually don't really like sitting in front of all that stuff either."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Cool, man. Well, let's drink a beer and let's hang out. We can
Yeah.
watch them dance." And but he wouldn't have known that if I wasn't brave enough to say
share it.
something
Mhm.
to him, right? And then in turn, through that conversation, he was brave enough to tell me that he has anxiety too. And it's amazing when you start talking about it. Like, I could talk about sports all day long.
Yeah.
You guys could probably talk about stuff, but the minute you like have this relatable experience with someone else talking about your anxiety or your trauma, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like it
You're
just
like, I feel seen. I feel heard.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have one of my close buddies. He always says, when you put out your vibe, you're gonna find your tribe, right? So it's like,
That should be a t-shirt.
yeah, I'm telling you, and
Yeah.
it's interesting because when you really think about that comment, like it's true, right? Because I think a lot of people are a little more reserved. They may not share what they're going through, but when you did, this other individual was like, "Oh, well, I'm going through that too." So now it's like you make
Yeah.
that connection, and the two of you're stronger, right?
Mhm.
So it's just very interesting when you kind of put yourself out there and you're just honest with people around you. You may not always get the response back you're looking for, but a lot of time you do, So
So jump ahead to where you are today.
Yeah.
What are you doing and leading right now? And I know you're speaking, you're sharing your story, you're still in the sports world. So what's life like today?
Going through, well, my sports world. So I'm the chief marketing officer at USA Softball, and that's really exciting because
Mhm.
women's sports is on the uprise, which is amazing from a
Yeah.
branding perspective. People are actually wanting to spend money now, which they should. So it's just awesome. It's awesome to be around that environment, that culture. I've been in sports for a long time, but this is a really special job. And then you have the Olympics coming up in 2028, and
Mhm.
so being a part of that movement, it's just been incredible. So it's a really good staff, and it's a good job.
Yeah.
But I consult on the side with other sports organizations, not related to what I do with USA Softball. And then through my therapy, one of the things that my therapist had me do years ago was start writing down my thoughts,
Mhm.
which turned into poetry.
That's
And so I'm
beautiful.
a huge poet. I love writing poetry. Started out with a lot of like first responder stuff from that night. My poetry turned into songs. So I've got 3 songs that were performed, and I've just got a 4th one called "Through the Fire" that is a really incredible, deep, very heart touching song. It's uplifting. It's got this rise moment to it. I'm super excited about it. That just got performed. So I'm going through kind of like this
It's
thing. I've
cool.
got I wrote the 2 books so far. I've got a 3rd one coming in sports.
Mhm.
I've got my life story book. It's about 220 pages. So get ready to watch for that here coming up. And then there was a movie script written on my life story
Wow.
that's being finalized right now and getting ready to be pitched. And it's an incredible story of faith and strength and
Mhm.
resilience. And it's got the baseball side to it, to
Yeah.
Vegas, to the aftermath, a lot of focus on therapy and the moment you raise your hand and ask
Yeah.
for help. And it's very uplifting. So
Who
yeah, I
would
got a lot
play
on
it?
my plate, but
Who would
yeah.
play you?
Chris.
Well, if you're looking for a stunningly handsome person to resemble yourself, that would be the obvious choice,
Totally. Yeah. I don't know. They're throwing around. There's been some different studios that have had some interest in the initial pitch. And so there's some different names being thrown around, which is like, it's so crazy to even think about that. And that's where I'm at too, is, as I'm writing my life story, I'm writing these chapters and I'm going, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
What was I thinking? But on the end of the day, like MLB TV interviewed me and on the network, and Anthony Castrovince wrote an incredible story on my path and where my journey took me. But at the end of it, the self-realization, really hit me hard, where he asked me, it was probably therapeutic for me going through everything and then realizing like what I had gone through. And I'm like, yeah, of course. But at the end of the day, I did what I could to get those people out. I wanted to give them a chance at life. I wanted to give them an opportunity, if they didn't make it, to pass in somebody's arms that loved them. And that's all we can do as human beings, is be there for each other. Give everybody, all of us, we all want a chance. And if someone's having a really bad day, take your day, stop that moment, try to be kind, try to show some love, try to be supportive, whatever they're going through, try to get them off that ledge a little bit, and try to just let them know that you're there and be present in that moment for that person that sometimes you don't even know. It could be a waiter or waitress, a subway ticketer, whatever, right? We all go through things. We all have our own trauma, but I think that biggest life lesson that I've learned is to just always treat people with kindness and respect and love, because love wins all the time, no matter what. It's always going to win. And be brave enough to be able to communicate your trauma, your thoughts, put yourself in a good place.
Yeah. I think to piggyback off that too, one thing I always like to live by is never be afraid to talk to a stranger and ask questions, right? My wife hates when I do this, but like, I love just meeting random people, right? Just have a conversation, because you never know what kind of day they're going through and what you're going to learn from them, right? So sometimes it just takes that little question of, hey, you okay? Like, I'll give you an example. I was flying home from Mexico for my buddies, and in the airport, there was a woman next to me who was crying, and everybody was just walking by her. And I looked at her, I'm like, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I'm just kind of going through some stuff. And me being who I am, I go, do you need a hug? She literally laughed at me. She was, I could use one. Awesome. So I was like, come on over. So I gave her one, and she literally looked at me and she's like, I'm just going through so much, and just having a complete stranger just ask me.
Wow.
So it's like the littlest things that you don't think are going to make an impact could change somebody's whole perspective in life. Because literally, and I had to rush, unfortunately. I was on a tram. I was like, this is my stop. I got to go. I go, just remember, whatever you're going through right now, it's temperamental or temporary. You got to get through it. Just kind of work through it. So it's like just those little things that you could do to make somebody's
Maybe
life
you really could play him. Are you pitching yourself?
I could. No, I'll be honestly, like Todd, like I definitely can relate to you, because I think being a good man and knowing you're a good man are two different things, right? And you're a good man. Like, you can just tell by when you talk to somebody whether or not. And being able to put that forward to other people and really just kind of, like you said, care and love, even if you don't know them. Like, that's kind of what this whole world is about, And I think too many people focus too much on themselves in regards to what's
empathy.
Going on.
I think empathy is taught. I don't think you're born with it.
Yeah.
And I can say that because I see my 4-year-old who is like a narcissist. Like, I think every toddler is like narcissist. They just have no regard for anyone else but their own needs. And when my older ones come home and they tell me about a kid that was mean to them or whatnot, and you're like, you have no idea what happens outside of school for somebody's situation. And all you can do is just be kind. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but you have to be kind. And you're not going to ever be mean to somebody. You don't know what somebody's situation ever is. And I think if more people think that way and teach that, then the next generation, it's just going to be, that's part of them. But
yeah, amen. That's it too. It's being brave enough to be kind. It's having the courage to to stand up for those, to stop your in your tracks and give someone a hug when they need it. That's a beautiful story. And that's the other part too. I think as a man, as a older guy, growing up in a society where we were supposed to just suppress our fears, everything else. I need more guys. I need more men to come out and say, you know what? Life is beautiful. And it's going to stay that way. And I'm going to be a good guy, and I'm going to be present, and I'm going to stop and ask people like you did, Chris, if they're okay. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We get in our own way. But Chris, by the way, you brought up like 4 different T-shirt designs.
Oh, okay. So what are the 4 that are in your head? Because every time, so one of the interviews we did was a marketer for a taser company, and we were joking on another podcast of like, remember that taser guy? And the woman was like, that needs to go on a T-shirt. So I started a notebook of all the random things that we say for T-shirts. So what are the 4 that you have?
Oh, geez. Well, the tribe thrive by your tribe, or whatever one that was.
When you put out your vibe, you'll find your tribe.
Yeah, you just said something about walking with, well, the water one I thought was a good one. That would be more of a slogan, like your life is like a water going through the rock.
Yeah, believe it or not, that conversation that I had with that guy meant so much to me that I have literally a tattoo of the 4, because at that point in time in life, I went through 4 big things. Literally, wow. I don't know what it is, but when it rains, it pours with me, and it's just, you gotta work through it. But I literally got a tattoo specifically for that, just to remind myself that, look, no matter what life throws at you, you'll get past it, So.
Unless you freeze and then you just push the rocks out of the way.
Too.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to be a bulldozer, right? You got to be able to be bold and just, all right, I'm not dealing with this. Let's go, get it out. Yeah, the walking one, and then your just be kind.
Be kind.
Yeah, it's interesting because all those things I said, I can't take credit for a single one of them. And the reason why I say that is because every single one of those I got from somebody by having a conversation. And most of those were from people I didn't even know. Like the Vibes You Tribe, that was from my best friend.
I don't think it's trademarked though. I think we could still put it on a T-shirt.
No, 100%. But even taking the money aspect out of it, like I think when you really start talking to people and having those conversations with people, like you learn a lot. And it just could be one little thing that somebody says that just rings with you. It's like, oh man, that's a good point. It's like I should really kind of reconsider that when I find myself in a specific situation.
Yeah. Well, we could dig into so much. This has been incredible.
Wait, you're gonna make me stop talking to Todd? I hate time. If it's one of those things, it's like we could just go all day long if we can.
I know. So your website has incredible information on it. Your podcast, we didn't even touch on that. You have a rockin' podcast going on. 2 books, 3 books?
Third on the way.
Third on the way. You're going to be on the radio soon. Chris is going to play you in a movie.
That's it.
I am just blown away by your story and just inspired. I can't wait to have this out to the world for everyone else to hear too.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you spending the time with us.
I appreciate you both. It's been an amazing conversation. You guys are so easy to speak with, and I'm excited. I love getting out and getting on stage and talking. I think when you're on stage, similar to our conversations, you really connect. And at the end of all of that, you get those people coming out and just saying, God, that story just hit me.
Yeah.
And they were never in that shooting, right? They never went through that. But sometimes our stories and how we tell them impact the soul. And it does it in a positive way, I think. So I really appreciate you having me on, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're inspirational.
Do you need to do like an ending clip before I hit and record?
No, I mean, honestly, I actually, you know what? Hold on. Don't end record yet. Seriously, I just want to say, thank you again for spending the time and kind of telling everything. One last thing I just want to touch on, right, is that a lot of times actions are bigger than words, right? So by you describing your story about how you jumped back into, the line on a fire to help people, I hope people take a look at that and be like, okay, even though the situation I'm currently in, if you see something that is going wrong, don't be afraid to step up and help somebody. I that whole point. I mean, you think about it, you put your life in jeopardy, you put your whole relationship, you put all that aside just to help people that you didn't even know. And that to me is
incredible.
That's incredible. So
thank you.
Oh, we're in this fight together.
That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah.
All right. Now you can stop recording. Thanks again, Todd.